So yeah, that way I don't get fired if there's no recording. So welcome everybody. Um, Michelle is not here today because she is actually traveling back to Canada. Well, hopefully she's making all her connecting flights and traveling back to Canada. And we have Natalie. Natalie for your class today. But I just want to do a few little housekeeping issues right now. And one thing somebody brought up to me just recently that they did not receive the recording last month. So did anybody else? I know of two people that didn't receive the recording last month. Did anybody else not receive it at all? You got it? Okay. Okay. So it was just a couple of offs because if either everybody didn't get it or only a couple people for whatever reason. But if ever you come into that situation again, we usually say within 48 hours. We're going to say 72 hours this month just because of Michelle traveling and getting the recording back to me. If you don't get it by the class is Saturday, if you don't get it by the end of Monday, shoot me a message. You've got the message from all the recordings and less emails than previously. So, but you've got it. Just say, I haven't got it. You might be a one-off, but maybe there's something from my end. So please don't hesitate to shoot me a message for that. And the other is tomorrow night, because you probably won't get the email from me by tomorrow. We have a Facebook Live sale. It is the Nuts Away So the Squirrels Forgot to How to Behave Facebook sale, and that's from 7 to 9. So I believe it's Jackie, Kathy, and Angela. So they're a couple of nuts. So I'm not sure who they're referring to, the nut being away, but the nuts are still there. Bernina brunches will resume next month with Michelle. But even though Michelle's away, the Bernina special is still going. So serge your feet. If anybody has a serger, serge your feet are 20% off, and you can order until 11:59, April 30th. We have a Bernina embroidery event coming up in May on the 21st and 22nd. It's a 2-day event. We're having Debbie Yu. She's one of the Bernina of Canada educators, national educators. And she's a wealth of knowledge. And we've got a couple of spots left for that. And your lunch is included in that as well. Pertaining to this class, and I quickly touched upon it the last class that you had, we've got a class called the Retiring Stitch and Flip Perfect Corners with Corner Pop Fall 2026 is the name of the class. Do you want to tuckerize this using your Corner Pop? It's a great add-on for this class because it teaches you how to read a pattern and convert it and really make use of your rulers. And I know a few of you took whether it was the Fab Five or the Tucker U. Once you get using them, it's wonderful, and hence classes like this as well with Natalie, who's got her training as well. So that's even better. We've got a bring your own garment workshop coming up. We've got another Canton Moto jacket starting in the summer. And if you know anybody that you want to sort of bring into the fold, we've got a Learn to Quilt class on the schedule and probably another one coming up as well. So I'll hand it over to Natalie so she can begin. And as I said, the recording might be another day. So give me till Tuesday to get it because Michelle will probably be a little bit jet lagged and she'll be sending the video back to me to send out to you. Okay. So have a great class.
All right. I'll just spotlight myself here.
Thank you.
I think I've done that now. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. So I'm in a different place again today. I'm at home today. There's a class going on at the store, so I couldn't use the classroom. But I'm here today. My kids are away. They slept over at a hotel with their aunt last night. She does that every once in a while. She has 3 kids, a 4-year-old and 2 2-year-olds, twins. And she likes to take the 4-year-old to do stuff without the babies sometimes. So she takes my kids too, and they all have fun. My kids are a bit older. If they decide to come home to get anything, they might walk in while we're doing this, but I told them they had to be quiet. So hopefully they don't. We'll see. And then my husband's at work. So I'm by myself. I'm actually by myself all day. And then they're staying at their aunt's house tonight too. So I'm by myself all day tomorrow. I'm very excited. Very excited about this. It's great. Okay, so we'll get right into it because there's a lot to do today. So we're going to do blocks 4 and 5 together. Now, the great thing about these though is that they have the same units in them essentially. So block 4 has a square squared, a 4-patch square up. What's this one called? Not or a 4-patch shaded 4-patch and a split Rex unit. Okay, and then month 5 has a shaded 4-patch and then two 4-patches. So I just went with this one basically, and we're gonna show you how to do the square and a square, the 4-patch, the shaded 4-patch, and the split Rex. And then next month we actually are gonna just redo a square and a square and a split Rex, and then you'll learn this one here, which is the combo unit. I believe it's the non-mirrored combo unit. So let me see. Yeah, the non-mirrored, which is a different technique as well. So that's next month. So to start with, I don't know if everybody got the picture that I sent with what I've done so far, so you could kind of see where I put fabrics. I still do have a couple more blocks to do. I think it's just one, just some border blocks. I'm gonna get those done very soon, and then I don't want to put the whole thing together because I want to be able to show you blocks as I'm doing it, but I'll again put it up on the wall and I'll take another picture and show everybody. I also have to fix some that are turned the wrong way. Wasn't paying attention when I did it. So, okay, so let's start with the square and square. And as per usual, I'm just using scrap fabric, so it's not going to be the same fabrics that we were using before. So when you're doing a square and square, and we did in one of the other, I think it was in the first class there, we did a stacked square. So the stacked square is a bit different because it's economy blocks. So you've got a square and a square and a square. This one is just, where did it go? One square inside a square. So this looks a little off. That's only because there's the seam allowances right here. But yeah, and the great thing I've said about this pattern too is all the instructions are in the pattern. So even though you have your ruler instructions and all that stuff, you don't really need to use them. Also the shaded 4-patch, that's a technique sheet. So it is good to have that technique sheet. Just I do like how they do their technique sheets with the pictures and the colors and everything. But if you don't want to purchase anything new, it's in here. So I have all the technique sheets and I think they're great. So, all right. So I'm gonna grab my square and square, which is right here, and I'm gonna come around the other side of my camera. So I'm not doing this backwards for everybody. Up a little bit more. All right, can everybody see it right there? Is it shady? Let me see if I can get another light on here. I don't have overhead lights in my house because I live in a rental. So I don't know, maybe that might be better. I think that's probably okay. Okay, so with the square to square, we are the square squared, I guess is what the ruler is called. We have two sides to it. So part A is where you're going to trim your, let me make sure everybody can see that. Yeah, where you're going to trim your middle triangle. Okay, or no, triangle, sorry, square, middle square. The reason we have a special spot to trim that is because this square here is a weird size. It's kind of like at the 1/8 inches, but it's not quite. It's a weird size. So Deb has done all the math for everybody, and she's used these for cutting. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut. It says cut from a 2-inch strip here, but our instructions told us to do 2 1/4, so that's what we did. And then you've got your second side here, our side B, part B, is for squaring up at the end. So with part A, I'm going to take the strip. So you're going to have a strip of fabric, and then you're going to have some squares. And I can't remember how many they told us to do of each of these. Yeah, you need one strip and then 8 of these squares. So the first thing we're going to do from our strip is cut out our middle squares. So if I'm right-handed, I've got it going out to the right. If you're left-handed, you're going to have it coming up from the top, I believe. So what I'm going to do, and I'm using this square here, the 2-inch. And I know that this is very small. I kind of wanted to make it bigger, but then I wanted to make sure I did the right measurements that everybody's going to do. So I did make it smaller. Um, so I'm going to use this square here, which is the center square for 2-inch finished blocks, because all the blocks we're doing are 2-inch finished, except for the split recs are 2.5 by 4, or 2 by 4 finish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up. Everybody will be happy to know I should be getting a new cutting mat soon that has no lines on it and is gray in color. I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to cut up and then over, just to get rid of the top. And what I did there was I lined up that line here for the 2-inch finished block. And then I'll put that to the side. And then you just keep going down the strip for however many that you need. And we have to make 4 of these because we only make 4 of these blocks. So we have to make 4 of these. So you only need 4 of these middle squares. So it doesn't have to be a full strip of fabric. I think it says 2 by 9 here. Or sorry, not 2 1/4. It is 2 inches that she had us cut. Sorry about that. It's the other squares that were 2 1/4. All right, and you just keep going down. I'll put that aside. So to make one of these units, I'll put the ruler aside for a second. You need your middle square, and then you need 2 2 1/4 inch squares, which will be your side triangles. So with these squares, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them, just layer them on top of each other. You don't have, I mean, you can do this separately if you want to. And then just using your squared ruler or any ruler is fine. I'm just going to cut them diagonally right down the middle. So now I have my square and then I have my corners here essentially. Now, other versions of making a square and a square has you with your middle piece, which would be bigger than this one, and then you put squares on the corner, flip them down, cut the square off. We don't do that here. We have triangles, and we're going to put the triangles on the flat side. All right, so sorry, my chair is really is rolly, and these floors where I live are not even. So I tend to roll away. All right, so we've got those. So now we've got our pieces. So we're going to start. Make sure everybody can see me. Yeah. We're going to start with putting these on here. So we're going to put right sides together. I put the triangle down first and then take my square and I put it over top. And you can use glue or pins. I'm going to use pins. I don't want to waste my glue. And you don't have to pin these. I know there's lots of people who don't pin. I do like to keep mine secure. So what I do, you can either sew that or you can put the other one on the other side and do it. It's not going to reach far enough down that you're going to sew through it. Some of them, when you get them to the even smaller ones, I think there's one that's a, is it a 1-inch finished? I can't remember, but it's, this will hang over here. So if you were to do both at the same time, you would sew through it. But this one is not long enough. So we're going to do that. Oh, that's not very even, but whatever. And then I'm going to sew here and here with the square facing up. So you want your, excuse me, the smallest edge is going to be facing up so that you can see where to start and to finish. I'll put that aside. So then once I do that, I've got this piece and I have, oh, and sorry, I should say, I just centered this square in between the two of them. I just eyeballed it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So once I have that, I have pressed my seams out towards the side triangles, and then I'm going to take my next two pieces and I'm going to again lay that down like that and then go here and I'm going to center it. That one in, and then again with this one, center it. I just like to have everything ready to go because I can sew one side, flip it, sew the other. I don't have to worry about pinning it or getting the other triangle. Again, if the triangle is going to go past here, then you can't do that. But okay, and then you're going to sew again with the square facing up. So sew along here, 1/4 inch seam, obviously. And then I'm going to have my piece that looks like this. And again, I'm going to press to the triangles. So my piece that looks like this, that's definitely doesn't look right. There's too much seam allowance here. So as usual with Studio 180, we've made it bigger and we're going to cut it down to size. So now I'm going to use, I'm going to use this side of the ruler. And we're doing 2-inch finished. So we're going to use this one here, where's the 2.5-inch cut. And then where these twos are, sorry, I've still got my sticker on there. I'll take that off. Those are where the points are going to meet. So I'll show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I'm just going to look and make sure everyone can see. I'm going to line, maybe I'll try to take that sticker off now. I might have to use some glue, be gone, but just so you guys can see better. Okay, it's staying on. Now it's just half a sticker. So I'm going to take those X's that have the twos, and I'm going to line those X's up right on the points of my, I guess it's a diamond now. It started off as a square. Now that we've turned it, it's a diamond. So I want to make sure that those are lined up with that. And then I also want to make sure, I get my stiletto out for this. I also want to make sure that the fabric is hanging past this 2.5-inch line and then obviously hanging over the edge. If you get it so it's like a little off, it's okay. Again, not a huge deal. The biggest thing you want to make sure is that you're not going to cut, or you're not going to cut off any points when you get to sewing this onto something else. So just kind of want to make sure you've got a 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here. If it's off a little bit or it's like in too far, it is okay. It's not the end of the world. If it's by a lot like this, something's gone wrong. Or if it's a lot, if it's like this, that means that you didn't trim that middle triangle to the right size. Or not triangle, I keep saying triangle, sorry guys, middle square to the right size. Okay. I find that I've done this before where instead of cutting a strip, I just cut all the squares and then I forget that I have to cut those down. So I end up sewing those on and then I have something like this. Maybe I'll show you in the bottom better. Something like this where the 2 is way in here and the square is really big and I'm like, what's going on? And then I realize that I didn't cut down that middle square first. So I always suggest doing it from a strip because then you have to cut it. And when you go to cut it, you're like, oh yeah, I got to use part A of the square to square. So mine's looking pretty good. So we'll just line that up there. And then I'm going to take my rotary cutter. Well, oh, I moved it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to fix that. Moved it a little. Okay. And then I'm going to go over. All right. And then I'm just going to turn it like we always do, 180 degrees. And this time, I always, the second trim, like to line up with that line here, the 2.5. So I line that one up first. And then I just make sure that those X's are in the right spot. And they seem pretty good. This one's off a little bit, but I'm really not too worried about that. I'm still gonna have my 1/4 inch. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Up and over. And then, oh, in the wrong spot. Now you have your perfect 2.5 inch cut, square and square, or 2 inch finished when it's in the quilt. All right, so that one's done. That one's pretty easy. I feel like most people have done that before. Just 1 second to put my pins away here so I don't poke myself when I try to clean this all up. So the next one is the 4-patch square up. Okay, so the 4-patch square up ruler is actually a fairly new ruler. It's not as new as the 9-patch, but it is on the newer side. So a lot of older patterns, if they have a 4-patch in them, won't give you the instructions for the 4-patch square up. Sorry, I'm really thirsty today. This one does. Where's the other part of this? And this one tells you that you can do it the normal size, and if you are the normal way, if you do it the normal way, you have to cut your strips at 1.5 inches. But if you're going to do it the Studio 180 way with the 4-patch square up ruler, you want to cut your strips at 1 3/4 inches rather than 1.5. So if you get an old pattern and it doesn't have this technique, all you have to do is up your cutting instructions by 1/4 inch. Really, really simple. It's definitely the easier one to remember. And it actually tells you right on the ruler, right here, with your finished size 4-patch, what size to cut your strips. And all your strips for the 4-patch are going to be the same, regardless of how many colors you have in there. With this one, we have 3 colors in there. So I put that aside for a second, and then I'll pull this guy out. So with this 4-patch, we have 2 backgrounds, and then 2, I think they call it light medium and 4-patch, a medium and a light medium. So I don't know which one I chose. I think this is medium and this is light medium. I can't quite remember. So what we have is, make sure everybody's there. So yeah, we've got our strips. And so to do this, you're going to need 2 strips of your background. And then you're going to need your, this is my light medium. And then this is my medium. Now with the last one, with the 4-patch there, or not 4-patch, sorry, with the square squared, I did use this as a dark and this as a medium, but we're just switching it up because I just had these 3 colors and I wanted to use them. So that's my background. I need 2 backgrounds, one dark, or light medium and medium. I'm sure you can't even tell, but these are the wrong size because I was cutting really fast. They're 1.5, but I want them to be 1 1/4. So what we're going to do with these is we're going to sew a background to your medium. And then we're going to sew a background to the light. And you're just going to sew all the way down so that you have 2 strip sets that look like this. So you got one like that and one like that. Mine are a little wrinkly because I had them folded up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take them. So it doesn't really matter which way they go. I'm going to do that one like that. And that one like that. And you want to sandwich them together, but you want your backgrounds to be opposite from each other, and then your medium and your light medium to be opposite from each other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, oh, sorry, and you're going to press to the darker of the strips, so away from the background. the So what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to nest these seams in together. So nesting your seams in together is kind of a skill, and it takes a lot of like feeling your fabric to see if it's there. So I tend to just put them up against each other and then kind of like move it around until I feel that it's like locked into place. Sorry, I said like 40 million times in that sentence. So you just kind of want to feel that it's locked in there, which mine feels pretty good. These should all, if you've got a 1/4 inch seam here and these are the same size as these guys, they should all match up top and bottom as well. So the first thing I do here, and okay, I'm going to do something bad. Normally I want to trim this off. It just even this side off. Normally you'd do that from the other side, unless you're left-handed. But because I don't want to move it around too much because I've locked it in there, I'm going to do it from this side, and I'm going to cut off a little more than I normally would. So what I'll do is I'll just line up one of these lines. Make sure everybody can see. I'm going to line up one of these lines here with the stitch line, and then just cut that off. So I normally wouldn't cut off that much, but just so I don't move it, I'm going to do that way. You're welcome to do it the other way if you want to not waste any fabric. That's no problem. So now we're going to cut strips, or we're going to cut, yeah, like pieces down. And what we want to cut them the same width as the strips that we cut. So that's, if you're doing this version, it's 1 3/4. If you're doing the other version, it's 1 1/2. So we're going to cut it 1 3/4. And once again, these are cut at the wrong size. So just disregard that it looks a little wonky. When I get to showing you how to square it up, it's the right size. So I got 1 3/4, my 1 3/4 right here. So I'm just going to line that up with that. And then I'm going to use a line to line up the stitch line, or the top or the bottom. But I do like the stitch line. I find that's my straightest line. So my first cut wasn't great there, and it is off a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that. It's all going to get cut anyways down to size. So I'm going to cut that, and then I'm just going to put it to the side. And for this first one, we only need 4 of these. So all I need to do is cut 4 of these. For the second one, you're going to need more than that, and I'll find that out. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly look for month or block 5. There's 8 of them, and you need to do 2 of these, so you need 16. But for this one, you only need 4 for month 4. So I'm going to line that up again. And I'm going to caution everybody who's using the same fabrics that I used. Measure 2 or 3 times and cut once, because we're using what are they called? Fat quarters, and we don't have a lot of extra fabric. So just be careful. And I know that I'm pretty sure the fabric doesn't exist anymore. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll cut one more of these. And as you're cutting these, keep them together. Don't separate them. All right, so I don't need any more of that. So let's put it aside. So now what you're gonna do, it's together. All I'm gonna do now is sew a 1/4 inch down either side. Doesn't matter. It's gonna be the same once you open it. So I'm gonna sew that. Now, if what happened, like if that came apart like that, that's okay. Just put it back together, snap it into place, lock it into place, however you want to say, nest it into place, and go ahead and do your sewing there. So once I've sewn those, I have something that looks like this. And I've got my sewing line, my seam right here. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to spin my seams. All right. So you're going to take your seam ripper. I should have used a different colored thread. This one actually, the thread you can see better. I'm going to take out, there's like 2 stitches right here and right here. And those stitches are from this stitch line, and they just go, I just take out the stitches that go right down to this horizontal stitch line. And now when I open it to press it, it's going to open up like this. I'm going to be able to press one way and one the other. And then I have a little tiny mini 4 patch on the back as well. I'll show you that better here. So that's what it looks like on the front, and that's what it looks like on the back. And it looks really good. And I mean, not that anybody's gonna see the back, but it lays super flat. So if you were to not do that and just have one side going this way, you're gonna have a lot of bulk over here. So I think that that part is really important. All right. So now we've got our 4 patch that is not quite finished because we have to square it up. So now what I'm going to do, quickly take a drink of my water. I'm going to find the part here that is going to give me 2-inch finished or 2.5 cut. So it's right here. So on this side we have the holes essentially finished sizes, and then the half finished sizes. That makes any sense what I just said. Sorry, I'm gonna put this stuff away so it's out of my way. So I've found it here. So these lines here indicate that that's my 2.5 cut square. And then this little circle with the 2-inch, that's my 2-inch finished. And it tells us right here, finished size of 4 patch. And then up here says cut size. And down here says cut size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that 2 right in the middle of my 4 patch. And if you can see there, I've got lines coming out this way, and those should line up pretty perfectly with my 4 patch. Now, sometimes they don't. I know myself, I can be a little bit of an aggressive presser, and sometimes that moves stuff so it will kind of be like that instead or something like that. But this one seems pretty good. So I'm going to put that in the middle. Now, if you have it where these weren't locked in and one's a little bit further down, you're gonna definitely see it when you get to this point. When you get to this point, you might have something that kind of, well, it won't look like that. It'll look, one side will be up and one side will be down, type of thing. So I'm gonna line that up. I'm gonna make sure I have fabric hanging past that 2.5-inch line, and then make sure I have it hanging past the edge of the ruler. And then I'm gonna cut up, over, and then I'm going to turn it around. And once again, when I do my second cut, I'm going to line up that edge line first, the 2.5. So that's going to go like this. And then I'm going to make sure that that 2 is in the middle and that all the other stuff lines up good too. I do find when you get to the second cut, sometimes to get it so that you're not a little short there, this will be off by a little bit, but that's okay. I'd rather my unit be the right size than be perfectly lined up there. Then I'm going to go up and over. And there we go. I've got my perfect 2.5-inch cut size, what's it called, 4 patch, or 2-inch finished. All right, moving along. I'm doing this quickly today. All right, so the next one we'll do is the split Rex. I will say, of all of the rulers, the split Rex and the diamond Rex are the ones that I use the least. Just because I don't need them very often, but they are great to have still. they do this type of thing where it's just, or sorry, the Split Rex does this type of thing where you get, it's a half square rectangle, essentially. Um, and that's hard, and that's hard to achieve that and make it the right size without using this ruler. So with the Split Rex, we've got two sides once again. We've got our cut size for cutting our pieces. And then we've got the square up side. So that part is going to be used at the end for squaring up. So what you need for this is your two colors. So it should be a background. Oh, sorry, I just knocked the thing. It should be a background. And then I believe it's, I don't know what they call it, but your other color. And for me, I used this stripe one. I thought it looked really neat. And when you put it together in the whole quilt, it looks really cool. So what I'm going to do, we have to make two different versions of this. So if you can tell, this one is going one way and this one is going a different. Essentially, they're mirrored. So we have to do a Split Rex 1 and a Split Rex 2, that's what they call them. So with the Split Rex 1, we're gonna to cut our pieces. The only thing that changes them is when you're cutting, you lay your fabrics differently. So for the first one, we want to lay our fabrics both right side up. So we're not going to sandwich anything, we're going to stack. So we want both of them right side up. So it doesn't matter which one goes on top or the bottom. So I'm going to, sorry, I don't have enough room to put these out here. There we go. I'm going to line those up, and it might be beneficial to just square up these strips before you line it up. But if you get it so that it's not completely squared up, you can do what I did for the last one. I'm not going to worry about it here. They're lined up good enough. So we're going to take this side of the ruler, and we are making, these units are 2 by 4 inch finished, or 2.5 by 4.5 inch cut. So I want to find the line here that says 2 by 4 inch finished unit. And it tells me underneath what size of these strips I need to cut. So the cut strips are 5 inches. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up a little bit because it's going to hit the, all right. There's two lines here, okay? There's a solid line and a dotted line. The dotted line is just, I believe, I'm not quite sure what the dotted line is for. I think it's for a different technique with this, so you don't worry about the dotted line. We're just going to use the solid line, and it even says right here, place on cut edge of strip. So we're going to place that solid line on the cut edge, and that 2 by 4 inch finished line should be right on the bottom of your fabric. And if you have cut this the right size, the top of it, I'll make sure everyone can see that, the top of it should hit the top of the ruler. The top of the ruler should hit the top of the fabric. If you've cut it the wrong size and it's up too far, it's okay, not a huge deal. If you cut it too small, you're gonna have to recut it. But if you cut it too big, you'll just cut up and then over to cut that little piece off, okay? And this isn't going to go straight up into the corner. You're going to have a little ledge up here. Okay, so I'm going to cut here, put that aside. And then now I'm not going to turn my fabric for this. I'm going to turn my ruler. Okay, I'm going to take the ruler. It was like this. I'm going to turn it 180 degrees. And now what I'm going to do is this line right here is called the common diagonal seam line. I'm going to put that up against the edge of my fabric. Do that first. And then there's a little line down here that says second trim. That's going to go up against the bottom of my fabric. So I'm going to do that and that. And it's not going to line up with anything at the top. So don't worry about the top at all. As long as this strip is the right size, you'll be fine there. Now, I should say, if it's not the right size, this part's going to be hard to do. you're going to have to trim it a bit differently. So I suggest just make sure it's the right size. If you go to trim it, it's not the right size, trim it down to the right size. So now I'm just going to cut up like that. And then I got 2 of them. And you're going to need 4 for this. So then for the next one, I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing again, where I cut it, I line up with that solid line and then line up with the 2 1/4 and I cut up that way. I only have 1 strip to cut, so I'm not gonna keep cutting those ones. But now what we're gonna do is those are for split rex 1. Okay, these are my split rex 1. They're gonna end up going like this. Okay, but I'll show you that part after. Now we have to cut our split rex 2. And the only thing I have to do to change it up is flip it upside down. So now I want both of them with the wrong sides up. Okay, so again, we're not sandwiching, we're stacking. And instead of having right sides up, we're gonna have wrong sides up. Okay, so, and then we're just gonna do the same thing. We're going to line up that solid line with the edge. We're gonna line up the 2 our 2x4-inch finished unit line at the bottom, and then make sure that's lined up at the top.
Natalie,
Yeah.
before you cut,
Yeah.
isn't your green one right side up? Like, are they right sides together, those strips?
They're both, so the green, it's not, this is the right side.
Okay,
I know,
okay.
it's hard to see with this one. This is
Okay.
actually a backing.
Oh,
I just had extras, so I was like, I'm gonna use it.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, so they are wrong sides up. Yeah,
Okay,
both of
thank
them.
you.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, just in case. Okay, so now I'll line that up. And if these start to get out of alignment, you just realign them. Go this way. Let me put that to the side. And then again, we're going to turn it around. I'm going to line up with that common diagonal seam line right there. And then the bottom is going to line up with the second trim. And then again, the top's not going to line up with anything. So with some sizes, the top will line up with one of these lines, but you don't have to look for it. So, all right, and do that. And then just keep going down. You need 4 of those as well. So you need 4 of 1 and 4 of 2. All right, so now we have pieces that look like this. So these are my ones. So I'm going to take them apart, and then all I have to do is take that one and turn it. And then we've got them like that. Let me just make sure that's how they show you. Okay, yeah, that is okay. So for split rex 1, we're gonna have it like that. And then I like to stack them so that I can just chain stitch it, and then we're good. And then split rex 2 is like that, and then like that. And you can see that they're mirrored essentially. Now it's hard to sew these wrong, because like if you were to put it together like this or something, you're automatically going to see that's wrong. And or like this or something, like you're going to know. Definitely these ones are easy to do. They're not hard to do. It's it's not easy to do it wrong. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sew these together. But there's a little bit of a trick to this. So we're going to sew it. I'm going to just. So when we sew them together, we're not going to just line up point to point, because when you do that, you're not allowing for the 1/4 inch seam. And this is what happens. This one. So once you sew it together, it looks like this. You've got that sticking out there and that sticking out there. And I will say, if you do this, not a huge deal. These are bigger. We're going to cut them down to size. But just in case you've cut them at the wrong size or something like that, you want to make sure they line up. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the points on your pieces, and we're just going to extend them a little bit. Extend them a little bit past. So about a quarter of an inch ish. And then if you do that one, this one will automatically go past. So when you do it like that and sew it down, it doesn't matter which side you sew it on, just whatever side is the most comfortable for you. Then you get something that looks like this, where it is even on both sides. And again, not a huge deal because we are made these bigger and cut them down to size. Like this one will still work. I just like the idea that it's lined up properly. So let's put these aside. So now we've got our pieces. All right, yeah, we've got our pieces, and we should have, let's see, do I have, I've got my my 1 and my 2. We should have 4 of each of these at the end for this one. Or do we have to do those in the second one? No, we don't do those in the other one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my split recs again, and I'm going to take the other side now. So the other side has different sizes for trimming down. We want the 4.5 by 2.5 cut size, or the 2 by 4 finished size, which is right here. So if I'm doing 1, I have to line up the seam with this middle line right here, which is the common diagonal seam line. So I'm going to line that up there. And this is like a half square triangle where it doesn't really matter how much you have over here and how much you have over here, just as long as you have some, as long as you have enough to cut off. So I just want to make sure that I have fabric hanging past the 4.5 by 2.5. I want to make sure that common diagonal line is in the right spot. And I want to make sure I have stuff hanging over here, fabric hanging over here. So I'm going to go up and over. And then I'm going to turn it around. And once again, when I do my second cut, the first thing I'm lining up is this line, the 4.5 by 2.5. I'm going to put that on here. And then I'm going to make sure that common diagonal line is lined up there. And I'm going to go up and over. And then I've got a perfect split recs number 1. Now, number 2, it's a bit different just because I'm going to use a different line. I'm going to use this line here, which is my 2 by 4 inch finish line. So that has to line up with the seam. And again, it's like a half square triangle. So as long as it lines up, doesn't matter how much fabric you have over here. Like if I was to do it like that, like that's okay. We don't have much over here or up top, but as long as you've got some. So but I like to center it. That's just my own thing. And then I'm going to make sure that there's fabric hanging over the 4.5 by 2.5 lines and fabric hanging over the edge of the ruler. Or I should say under, because they're under those lines. I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to line up the 4.5 by 2.5 and then that 2 by 4 inch finished. And I'm going to go up and over. And I should say with these split recs units, unlike a half square triangle, they don't go directly to the corners. You've got a little bit of a ledge here I guess is what I would call it. That's just for seam allowance purposes. Yeah, so there we go. We've got that. Split rects are one of the easier ones for sure. So now we've got our 4-patch. Sorry, not 4-patch, shaded 4-patch. This one probably has the most steps out of them, but I'll go through it quickly. I know we're almost at noon here, so for the shaded 4-patch, it's this guy here. You need 1 strip of background fabric. Yeah. And 1 strip of whatever this color is that you need it to be. I think it's like medium something. It's light medium. Yeah, it's light medium. And then you need a rectangle for this. And that I believe is medium A. This amount of these all together are going to make 2 at a time, just like a half square triangle. This is using your Tucker trimmer. So first thing we do is we take these strips, and one of these strips is bigger than the other one, and that's okay. It's supposed to be like that. You see it? Yeah. And we're going to sew those together. Okay. So I've done that. All right. So we're going to sew them together. Okay. Sorry. I cut this already. I shouldn't have. So just pretend that that's not cut. And we've got a big strip. Now what we want to do with that strip is fold it in half, and we want to cut it in half so that we have 2 strips. What I do is I fold it in half and then just cut the fold off. And then I'll take the other side and I'll trim it up so that it's nice and even. So we've got 2 of these strips now. So with these strips, sorry, this is one of the ones that I need to have the instructions in front of me, only because it's a technique sheet. I find the ones that are just like what you're supposed to do with the rulers easy enough, but the ones that are technique sheets, I have to have them in front of me, which is great. I think everybody should always have the instructions in front of them all the time. That's how you don't make mistakes. So I've got 2 pieces like this. I want to sandwich these together, but I don't want to put them like this. I don't want to put it so that those are together. I want to turn it around so that it's like this. Okay. You're going to have this big space in the middle where they don't match up. That's okay. It's supposed to be like that. So we're going to line those up as best we can. And if you need to realign them as you're cutting down, that's okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into pieces. And the pieces that we're cutting are, sorry, let me just look really quickly just so I don't get it wrong. 1 3/4 inch pieces. So I'll go ahead and do that. And I only need to cut 2 of these because 2 of these pieces is going to make 4, and I only need 4 for this. For the next one, you're going to need 8, so you'd have to cut 4 pieces down. Keep saying the next one for block 5. So I'm going to line up the edge with my 1 1/4 line, which is right here. And then I, again, like to pick my stitch line to line up with another line on the ruler, just to make sure that it's not all wonky and off. And I'm just going to cut that up. And I'm just going to keep it to the side. Okay. Sorry. Get that again. And then I'm going to do that again. Sorry, I don't mean to make people dizzy when I hit the camera there. And then I'm just going to put that to the side. And then if you need more, you're going to cut down, but we don't need any more. So now I have a couple pieces that look like this. All right. This part is weird. If you look at the instructions and the diagrams, you have This actually makes a difference, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. I tried to recreate last night the mistake you made if you do this wrong, and I couldn't. So, but I've seen people do it. So I'm not quite exactly sure what will happen if you don't do this part right. Oh, sorry, I know what will happen. I don't know how to recreate it though. Anyways, you're going to sew these together down the long side, but you want to make sure you sew it down this side, okay? So that the background fabric is on top. And if you look at the diagram here, everybody see that? Yeah. It right here, it shows you to do that, okay? So that's really important. So make sure you do it on that side. I watched a coworker do it the wrong way, and it was all wonky and off, but I somehow can't recreate it. But anyways, if you do it the other way, I did notice last night, if you go on the other side, you really just have to turn everything around. You have to do your lines a different way and all this stuff. And it's okay, it will work. But if you do it the way they tell you to do it, you can follow the instructions easier. So just make sure you do it down this side. So you're going to sew those two like that. And then you're going to get a piece. You're going to get pieces that look like this. Okay. We got two pieces like that. My stitch line is right here. Okay. And now I want to do something that always scares people because I'm bringing out the scissors. I'm going to take this. I want to fold it in half. And then I just want to trim right here. But I want to just trim right down to the stitch line. If you trim the stitch line by accident, it's okay. This part is going to get cut off anyways. This is just for pressing purposes. So I'm going to cut it. I'm usually pretty good at getting it down to the stitch line. You probably get it as close as you can. And then you do the same thing with the other one. And now when you press it, you're going to open it up. And it's going to go, one's going to go one way, one's going to go the other. And again, you're not going to have all this bulkiness because if you have everything going this way, it's going to be really bulky in here. So if you just do that, and the biggest reason why we can cut that is that this part is going to get all cut off anyways. So it's not a big deal. So now I have a piece that looks like this, and then it looks like that on the back. And this is where your rectangle comes into play. So now we're going to sandwich those together, and we're going to sew on some lines that I'm going to show you how to draw here. So I just pull the rectangle away for a minute. Grab a ruler, any ruler that has a 45-degree angle on it. And I'm going to, so actually mine has two. Mine has one right here and right here. I'm going to end up probably using this one down here. So what I'm going to do here is I have to draw a line that goes through this stitch line to pretty much the corner of here and then up to here, but it's got to be a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to line it up right here where those two stitch lines meet. It's essentially the point. It's essentially this point that I'm lining it up with. And then I want to take this, and then actually maybe I'm going to use this 45-degree line. So I want to line up, I'm lining up right here with this point, and then I want to line up this 45-degree with that there, with the top. It's not hitting the point or the corner completely. That's okay. Although I think I want to move it up a little bit. All right, and then I'm just going to use anything you use for marking, but I use friction pens. I'm going to draw a line there. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, but I'm kind of going from this point down and through this point here. So again, I'm going to use that 45-degree on the top it takes a minute to get this lined up. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I have it right on the tip there. I'm going through here and then going up here, and my 45 degrees is pretty good there. I don't know if it's a 100%, but if you don't go through this right here, if you go too far this way or too far this way, you're going to cut off a point, or you're going to have extra fabric underneath your point. Neither of those you want. So now I'm going to take my rectangle, I'm going to sandwich these together, and then I'm going to sew on each of these lines. And then I have something that looks like this. So my lines are still there, my friction pen lines, but I also did sew on these. So now you can't just, I mean, you can if you want to just cut down the middle here, but this is bigger than a 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my ruler, any ruler that has a 1/4 inch. Actually, your Tucker trimmer has a 1/4 inch line on it, so maybe I'll use that. I'm going to line that up. I'm going to line my 1/4 inch up with my seam, and I'm going to cut that side, and then I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to do the same thing over here just to cut off that extra little bit in the middle that you don't need. And then I have my shaded 4 patch. So I'll show you one that's pressed already. All right, this one's pressed. I feel like this isn't too bad, but this I do think is cut off a little bit, the tip here. It's not enough that anybody's going to notice, so I wouldn't worry about it. But if it was kind of like this, that's what I would say. Nah, you should redo that. Okay, so now, again, these are oversized and we need to trim them. So we're going to take out our Tucker trimmer to do that. And I think these are also 2.5 inch. I'm just going to make sure. Yeah, so then these are going to get trimmed at 2.5 inch cut size. So we're going to use the side of the Tucker trimmer that has the halves. And then I'm not going to assume that everybody's used this, but I'm pretty sure most people have used this one. The other side of this has your holes. Okay. And we use the Tucker trimmer one for half square triangles, combo units, 1/4 square triangles. I actually use my Tucker trimmer and my Tucker trimmer 3 for squaring up pretty much everything. But the Tucker trimmer 3 is bigger. It's a 12.5 inch, or sorry, I should say it's a 13 inch square. And I use that for trimming up my 12.5 inch blocks. I love it. I love all these rulers, but the Tucker trimmer was the first fundamental tool that she made. Not the first tool that she made, but the first fundamental tool that she made. And it's definitely the one that's most widely used. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by lining up that 2.5 inch dotted line there. I'm going to line that up with my seam. But because this is not a half square triangle, if this is a half square triangle, it wouldn't matter where I put this as long as I had stuff hanging over the edge on each side. But because we have this square, we have to make sure these triangles are even too. So I'm going to line that up, and then this is your common diagonal line. That needs to go right through the point there. And just so everybody knows, if any of these are off, I am on an angle, so I can't always see it. And these are just scraps. I'm not too concerned, but this should go on your seam here. And this one should go directly through that point. Again, make sure you've got stuff, fabric hanging below these lines and below the edge of your fabric. Oh, I just moved everything. Sorry. I'm going to redo all my rulers soon. I'm going to take these little stickies off that I have, and I'm going to put the spray stuff on because we tried that with someone else and it worked really well. All right. And then I'm going to flip it around. And once again, the second square up, I like to use this line here first. And then I'm going to make sure that that middle line is lined up and make sure this line is lined up. If you did the first part right, this line will line up no problem. The common diagonal. And then up and over. And then you have your shaded 4-patch. And so you need to do 4 of these for block 4 and 8 of these for block 5, because you have to do 8 block 5 and 4 block 4. All right, so I'm going to come around the other side of the camera now. Done the demos, but I do want to show you a couple things. But okay, bring my water over. I was going to hang a nice quilt back here for everybody, but I didn't have time, so I didn't do it. Okay, so that's it. Those are the units that you're going to be doing this month. And as I say, it's the reason I put these 2 together is because there was less of them. Like there's only 4 of these and then 8 of these. So I figured it's not that big of an undertaking to do these all together. When you are sewing these together, there's a couple points that you just want to make sure you're not going to cut off this point here on your squared. And then of course, make sure everything like nests and lines up properly. But really the only point on here that you have to worry about is the squared point. Because everything else should line up no problem. And then this side, there's really nothing to worry about. So that's it for this month. Does anybody have any questions? I couldn't see if anybody asked any questions, so it is always good just to unmute yourself and ask me. But does anybody have any questions at all? No? All right. Well, I'm gonna unspotlight myself, and then if hold on a second, remove spotlight. There we go.
I didn't
Yeah.
see any questions in the chat at all.
Okay. Well, as usual, when you are working through these, if anybody has any questions, you have my email. So just go ahead and email me. I'm always happy to help. And if it's whatever I'm trying to explain over email is not working, we can set up a time where I can give you a call too. So, yeah.
Very good. And as for the email, the recording, please allow an extra day or so. Probably by the end of Tuesday. You might get it before, but just in case, we'll allow a little bit of grace for the world traveler.
Yeah.
And I guess Heather's already back to her store, so.
She is back. I hugged her very hard when she came in the door. I was the boss while she was gone, and I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. So
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah, we had lots of phone calls going back and forth for a couple of different things, but
I know. I tried so hard not to bug her. I tried so hard, but there were some things I'm like, she needs to know what's going on here.
Okay, so I hope everybody enjoys wherever you are. I think most of the people I'm looking at are close to us, so enjoy the sunshine. It's supposed to last for a few days. Nice weather. Oh, Linda's shaking her head no. Where are you, Linda? Out west?
Toronto. It's raining.
Yeah, it's cloudy here.
It's coming, but we've got a couple nice days still, so
yes,
I'll take them. I'll take them. So, well, it'll clean out the roads and everything. It's one way to look at it. But
oh yeah, good sewing day.
I was going to say, it allows me to have an excuse to sew.
Well, enjoy your day off, Natalie.
Thank you.
Yeah,
everything.
Okay. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And I will stop the recording. I guess I could do that. So there, recording is stopped.